Well, welcome to our comparison. We're doing a comparison video. I'm here with Vernon, and we're looking at two of the most epic games out there, Blood Rage, Rising Sun. You can see all these painted minis that Vernon did there. You know how incredible his painting is on this. And today, we're going to give you kind of the similarities and differences between the two games. For those of you who are looking to get Rising Sun in the future and already have Blood Rage, you'll get an idea of what the difference is. Well, the first difference, let's just pop these boxes down. The first difference you can see is the board size. I mean, look at the difference in the boards of the two of them. You have
Yeah, there's huge table presence for Rising Sun right now.
And the artwork too. You look at the artwork in Blood Rage and it's an okay board. It's pretty, but when you look at this...
You've got a lot of the monsters that are in the geisha and all over the board. So, I mean, the board is... it's pretty to look at and it's active, whereas this is just kind of, I mean, it's not blah, but you have, just a top-down view of what's going on. And
yeah, it gives two very different perspectives. I really like the pastel colors and the artwork in the Rising Sun board. I think it's a gorgeous board, and as you can see, it's a much bigger board, so when you get Rising Sun, remember there's going to be a much bigger table presence for this game.
Mm-hmm. Right now, this is on just a regular card table, so as long as you have something about this size or a little bit bigger, you should be fine, because you have to figure the board for this, and then you have the player shields that you're going to need.
Sheets. There's a bunch of things. I don't think it'll fit on a card table once you put out all the pieces.
And I want to say maybe Blood Rage is about the same size as table presence, because you do have the player mats. Yes. Although the map right here is just enormous compared to Blood Rage.
Yeah, you don't realize until you pull them out together what a difference there are. Now let's talk about the gameplay itself, because that's where we really want to get into the details. The first thing is the way actions are in the game. In Blood Rage, you're drafting your cards, which give you the actions, and you're doing a round-the-table draft, while in Rising Sun, you're using this, and you're kind of picking actions from a pile.
You're technically drafting your political mandates, because you'll pick the top three, and you'll pick one of them, and then you put the two right back on top.
Down.
Yep. So it's a little bit similar, I guess, in that aspect, where during the card drafting, you're giving the other players what you get next, but you will only know those other two. Whereas Blood Rage, you're having to try to remember 5 different cards that you're passing around the table.
Yes. And the interesting thing about Rising Sun is that instead of drafting and you have all your actions and you know what your actions are going to be and you go around, this plays out more like... Rising Sun plays out more like I guess I'd call it Settlers of Catan style, where one person plays the action and gets a powerful action, and everyone else gets kind of a secondary action off those actions.
Yes, and whoever you're aligned with also gets that powerful action if you get an alignment.
Yeah, so it has a very Puerto Rico kind of feel of the actions, which is kind of cool, or like a Twilight Struggle kind of thing, where one person has the main action and then everyone else gets secondary actions from that. Mm-hmm. So He kind of changed the mechanic a little bit.
Yeah, because Blood Rage, I mean, you're playing the card, it's only helping you out, and that's it. For this one here, you are sometimes messing people up by playing one of those political mandates that they wanted the other one that we had in your hand, so you specifically play out one, and it completely changes the game for that player, and possibly helps you out in the long run as well.
Yes, it's a very interesting mechanic, and we've been saying how everyone says this is kind of the spiritual successor to Blood Rage, and they're very similar type of games. They're both area control games where you're trying to get areas, but there's a lot of unique differences which make the games very unique on their own. Mm-hmm. Another one is the area control mechanic. In Blood Rage, because you're drafting your cards, you kind of know which areas you want, and you could completely control an area by locking up the spaces in the area.
Yeah, so if you get the quest card for Mannheim or Jotunheim, you're going to want to start putting your characters over in those areas. But with this one here, and the War Province tokens, they're shuffled and random every match that you have going on in this game for all 3 seasons. So you don't know, say you're holding Kyushu, and all of your guys are there because last time there was a battle there. Next season, it could be completely gone, and Hokkaido and some of the other ones would be put up.
Yes, and what I find interesting is that in Blood Rage, you can sit in one area and just sit there and collect points in that area. You don't even need to battle. You could just, if you control the area, you could flip the token, get the power. Here in Rising Sun, the battles end up at the end of the round, and you're kind of rewarded for battling in different areas. So you kind of want to move your pieces around the board and take different areas each turn. Instead of just sitting in one area and keep collecting the points, you kind of need to spread in this game.
Yeah, because if you have two Hokkaido, you have for, let's say, spring season, and then you get it for summer, it's not counting towards those bonus points towards the end of the game, because you actually need multiple different provinces throughout the game in order to get the bonus points at the end. Whereas Blood Rage, you can sit in, you can put all your guys in here and sit if you keep getting those quests, but that's the only ones you're getting.
Yes.
And what you were talking about with the pillage rewards, with this, you're only getting that if you pillage.
Correct.
With this one here, if you have the most forces, you have to have that political mandate actually come up during, and you have to be the one on that player's
yes,
alliance to even get those benefits. Otherwise, all you're getting is just a coin. So you really need to mitigate in between battling and taking over areas to get everything, whereas Blood Rage is straight battle.
Yes, and it leads to more intrigue in a game of Rising Sun. Now, speaking of battle, the battles are very different in these two games.
Mm-hmm.
In Blood Rage, when you draft your cards, you can use those cards in a battle, and those cards are kind of what gives you the power.
Mm-hmm.
In Rising Sun, you are using money that you have, money that you could either use to
that you get
purchase some special cards, purchase the creatures, or you could keep that money and use it for the battle, but you have this kind of 4 different areas and how much you're going to bid on each area, and it's a bidding battle system. And how do you feel about the differences of the two?
I don't mind the Rising Sun. I do like the straightforwardness of the battling in Blood Rage. I feel there's a lot more mental game in Rising Sun, because say Jason wants to make sure he kills all his people off because he needs those victory points. Well, I'm going to try to outbid him on that specific spot so that I can take it away from him. Because if I outbid him, he can't use it, and then he's going to have to battle me throughout that the territory.
Yes. And the interesting thing that I find in it is that sometimes you want to lose a battle because there's that one Loki card in Blood Rage where you get to steal the other person's card after they play. You get to steal their rage after you battle, so you're kind of stealing their power. Here, if you lose, you get the money from the winner, so now you have more money, so in the next battle you'll be more powerful.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, I mean, you have to pay attention to on here is you have to sit there and look and say you have all of your eggs in 2 provinces, but you've already had 1. So you're going to lose this battle so that you can gain the coins from that battle into going into 3.
Yes.
And you kind of have to play that long game, whereas Blood Rage, it's, oh, well, we're all in here, let's battle.
Got a card.
Yep. And then that battle's over and then it's done. And this one, once you get all those people in there and you say you want to pillage, that's when the battle occurs. I mean, you can sit there and go throughout an entire round in Blood Rage and not even battle.
Correct.
Where this is at the very end, everyone's battling.
Everyone's battling.
As long as you are in that area. Although if you're aligned, obviously you're not going to fight your alliance member. But you guys do have to decide who actually wins that battle.
Yes. Now, speaking of the battles, and you talked about the complexity. Blood Rage is a more simplistic battle. Rising Sun is a more complex battle.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the complex battle. It reminds me of, in a way, Cry Havoc has a similar kind of battle system.
Yes.
Where you're kind of bidding on different things, whether I want to add troops into the battle or whether I want to kill one of your troops ahead of time or take it hostage, or I want to kill one of my own troops, or I want to get points for all the dead. And there's different things, and you have to decide which ones you want to go for. And it's a very interesting dilemma every time you go into a battle.
Yeah, and I mean, Cry Havoc is similar, but it's completely different, because in Cry Havoc, you're bidding with the guys you have in those spots. Where this, if you spend all your money on trying to gather the monsters, because each one of these cards, they're not cheap, obviously, to buy, but a lot of the times you aren't going to be able to use even some of their powers if you're higher in honor. So you have to mitigate the honor, and then you have to make sure that you still have enough money to battle at the end of the game.
Yes. Which comes to, I guess, the other thing. This is the one part that I am not crazy about. Maybe it's because of who we play with, but let's talk about alliances, because Blood Rage has no alliances, while Rising Sun has this whole alliance mechanic. So let's kind of talk about that for a little bit.
All right. So alliances are they are beneficial as long as you know how to mitigate them throughout the long game. Because what's going to happen is, say Jason and I come into an alliance, and once we get the alliance, every time I play my political mandate, he also gets that bonus. So do I want to continue to give him, say I play the mandate that gives you the victory points? Do I keep wanting to align with him at the end of the beginning of every season to keep pushing him forward, or do I want to align with someone else to help take you down a peg, or do I want to play the betray mandate, so this way I know I'm going to be battling you at the end of the season?
Yes, and it leads to some very interesting conflicts in the game, because if two people are allying and two people aren't allying, the alliance is going to be much more powerful than the non-alliance. And then you have people who don't want to ally unless you give them a favor or a coin, as we know now, which leads to kind of a not an imbalance, but a different kind of balance.
Yeah, and I mean that whole it's a whole phase in the game. It's called T phase. And I mean, if you are good at negotiating, if you are good at taking bribes, let's say, or you don't want to pay a coin, it specifically states in the rule book that you are actually allowed to discuss in private what you want to do during your alliance. And while you're in the alliance, you can kind of let your partner know which political mandates you have and which one they kind of need you to play to help them out. Whereas if you are only doing it by yourself, you're hurting all the 3 or 4 other people who are in the alliances, because they're not getting the boons.
Yeah.
And that is the only thing that really, to me, mitigates not being in an alliance versus being in an alliance. So, yeah, like you said, Blood Rage, it's everyone's out for themselves. There is no alliances whatsoever in that game. It's my characters are going to smash your characters. This one here is, okay, well, you give me this time, I'll give you this time, and we'll just go our separate ways. Or I'm just going to stab you in the back right now.
So I guess the key question now is, do they feel like spiritual? Does Rising Sun feel like the spiritual successor to Blood Rage?
To me, it does. You have pretty much all the things that you had in Blood Rage, but it's to an elevated standard. Everything is now, to me, a little more mind gamey. Whereas Blood Rage, once you play it a few times and you know someone's kind of strategy, you're going to be able to kind of break that by taking cards from them before they can pull them. Whereas this game, each time you play it, it's completely different. Like the mandate cards are different, the war provinces are different. And actually, we didn't even get into the kami. They actually kind of represent the gods, I feel, in Blood Rage.
Yes.
So those are already added into the game here. And they give you boons just like the gods do in Blood Rage. But they're already on the map. However, there's 7 of them in the base game.
And you only use 4.
And you only use 4. So each time you play Rising Sun, it's completely different. Blood Rage, you know which, maybe one of the provinces is going to be blown up. That's the only randomization in Blood Rage really, and where you place the pillage tokens. But that's it. This is just completely off the map, different.
Yes, and I agree. I think that Rising Sun has improved a lot of things on Blood Rage. Not that Blood Rage is bad, because I love Blood Rage, but I think there's some improvements. I also feel that there's some things that I don't like much. I don't like the alliances as much. Maybe because I'm not good at making them. I'm not sure yet. I'd have to be in an alliance for a game. If someone wouldn't charge me a coin, maybe I'd find out how much I feel about alliances. But if to me that feels like a game outside of a game, like the meta game of a game. And to have a meta game inside of the game is interesting and different. And I think some people will really, really enjoy that. I don't think that everyone's going to feel the way I feel, where it's hard for me to make alliances because people don't want to ally me because they think I'm a strong player.
Yeah.
Versus your standard person is going to come in and be able to make an alliance, and they're going to do the alliances, and they're going to have fun joining alliances, maybe switching alliances every turn, and I think that the alliances will add a lot to the game, and it adds a lot of meta to the game.
Yeah. See, I personally like the alliances. I don't mind being by myself because I've seen both aspects. My only issue with this is the battling. Like, I feel it's a little anticlimactic towards the end with the bidding. I prefer the straightforward blood and guts of Blood Rage, where it's a more thinky. Like I said, you need to make sure you have enough money for the multiple battles down the road. And I know more plays will get me through it. But right now, obviously, I'm thinking more Blood Rage, and so I unfortunately put everything in my first battle, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in this other province, and I needed to save those coins, and now I've messed up because I've basically put all my eggs in that one basket. That's kind of why I like Blood Rage, because I've played it so many times. I've played it over like 30 times.
Yeah.
And this, I've had 5-6 plays of, so I know once I get more and more plays of this, each one of those things that I have an issue with will be better.
Yeah, and me, I like the blind bidding. That's a very Euro-y kind of thing to throw in a game, is blind bidding on things, and that the loser gets the money from the winner. So I kind of like that aspect of it. I think it's unique and adds a lot to the combat. Of course, it is more complex, but overall, it does feel like a spiritual successor. It's still an area control game where you're using different options, whether they're cards or whether they're powers, that you're trying to get areas to get points out of the areas. It's got obviously the different feel. We talked about how the actions are more Puerto Rico-like, where you get one and then you go around the table, versus everyone has their own individual actions. But overall, it is truly a spiritual successor to Blood Rage.
Yeah, I would say when I know when it first came out, people were saying, "Oh, it's basically the same game." To me, the only thing that's the same in this is it has miniatures.
And the designer.
Yeah. Imagine that. Yeah. The only thing I like I said I saw was it has miniatures, but if you look at the size difference now between Blood Rage versus the Rising Sun minis, you can see just the level of detail as well. As a painter, Blood Rage was awesome, but Rising Sun, they stepped up their game. There are things when you start painting these, if you end up painting, like the details will come out, and I was really surprised actually at that they got better. I really thought Blood Rage was kind of pinnacle, but nope, they outdid themselves.
And these minis, it's hard to see it from here, but these minis are so detailed, and the paint job is incredible that it looks like you're looking at these things right out of the booklet. It is incredible, the detail on these minis, more so than, I think these might be one of the most detailed minis I've ever seen in the game.
Yeah, you can go higher, Games Workshop, but I didn't have to put these together, which was awesome, and I painted them right out of the box, which was nice. They actually, in the rule book, have pictures of all of the characters that they have in the game. It was a little abstract in the Blood Rage book, so if you're looking and you are a painter and you accidentally didn't pledge for the art book, you're still going to be able to see some of the things in the rule book itself.
Yes, and then you'll know the river dragon here which, it's incredible. There's a giant sphere inside of this. It's hard to see, but there's a sphere inside of this river dragon, and it looks just absolutely gorgeous. And the artwork's incredible. It's
Adrian Smith, I feel, did, like I said, he's elevated himself from Blood Rage. I mean, they're great, but Rising Sun is obviously, like you said, it's a spiritual successor. This is the only thing that they have in common, honestly, is the miniatures.
Yes. So let's give our final verdicts on it, and I guess we'll give a awesomeness rating on Rising Sun as well. So we'll start with you. Give me an awesomeness rating on Rising Sun.
Awesomeness rating on Rising Sun, I would say about an 8.5 awesomeness.
And what did you give Blood Rage?
Blood Rage had an 8, actually.
So you like Rising Sun better?
I do. There are a lot of nuances, and I do like being able to get into other people's heads while I'm playing a game. But if I want just a straightforward combat, I'll just go right back to Blood Rage.
So interestingly enough, I also give Rising Sun an 8.5 awesomeness rating. I absolutely love it. But on the other hand, I gave Blood Rage a 9 awesomeness rating because I don't like the metagame. And the metagame is added to this one, which gives it just a little bit too much for me. Not too much. It's still an 8.5. It's still an awesome game. And if you like Blood Rage, you will love this as well. So I would say strongly, it's a strong buy. Whether you Kickstarted it or whether you're going to end up getting it later, this is one that you should add to your collection 100%.
Yep, definitely.
So for now, we're signing off with 2 amazing games in front of us, and I'm Jason Levine.
I'm Vernon Piper.
And we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.